The massive crystal dome of Valthara Prime stretched high above the Galactic Council chamber. Captain Tejo looked up at the beautiful ceiling that sparkled like diamonds in the alien sunlight. He had never seen anything so amazing in his life. The building was bigger than any stadium on Earth and filled with creatures he had only dreamed about. Tejo walked slowly across the smooth floor toward the center of the great hall. His boots made soft clicking sounds that echoed in the huge space. Behind him, Commander Bora and Chief Engineer Wu Jin followed closely. All three humans wore their best Earth Defense Force uniforms. The dark blue fabric was clean and pressed, with shiny metal buttons and badges that showed their ranks. Around them, 12 different alien species sat in curved rows that rose up like a giant theater. The Valthari looked like walking crystals that caught and reflected light in rainbow colors. They were tall and thin, with faces that seemed to be carved from precious stones. The Nexari were stranger still. They looked like clouds of glowing energy that somehow held together in the shape of people. The serpent-like Silrathi coiled in their special seats, their scaled bodies shining green and gold. Their long necks moved like snakes as they whispered to each other in hissing voices. The Krexthari looked like giant insects with 4 arms and hard shells that clicked when they moved. Other aliens filled the remaining seats. Some had fur. Others had smooth skin and colors that did not exist on Earth. A few were so strange that Tejo could not tell if they were machines or living things. All of them stared down at the three humans with expressions that seemed curious but not friendly. High Arbiter Zethmore stood up from the highest seat. The crystal being was 3 meters tall and his voice rang out like music when he spoke. So these are the humans from the small blue planet called Earth. We have heard your request to join our galactic alliance. Tell us, little creatures, what makes you think you belong among civilized species? Tejo felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his voice calm and steady. Honored members of the Council, humanity comes before you in peace. We have traveled far to show that Earth is ready to join the galactic community. We offer friendship, trade, and our skills in science and engineering. A sound filled the chamber that made Tejo's blood run cold. It started as a low rumble from the Valthari section, then spread to the other aliens. They were laughing, not the kind of happy laughter he heard from his friends, but the cruel laughter of bullies who found something weak to pick on. The laughter grew louder and louder until it echoed off the crystal walls like thunder. Some aliens pointed at the humans with clawed fingers or tentacles. Others made sounds that must have been jokes in their own languages, causing fresh waves of laughter. Bora's hands closed into tight fists at her sides. Wu Jin's face turned red with anger and shame. But Tejo forced himself to stand straight and wait for the noise to stop. Finally, Zethmore raised one crystal hand and the chamber became quiet. Humans, he said, and the way he said the word made it sound like something dirty. You call yourselves ready for galactic civilization? You are nothing but apes who learned to use fire. Your species has existed for less time than it takes our crystals to grow 1 layer. A Silrathi ambassador uncoiled from her seat and slithered forward. Her voice was like oil poured over broken glass. We have studied your pathetic little world. You still fight wars among yourselves. You poison your own air and water. You cannot even agree on simple things like trade or borders. The insect-like Krexthari clicked his mandibles together before speaking. Your technology is laughable. Your fastest ships would take centuries to cross distances we travel in days. Your weapons could not scratch the paint on our smallest patrol craft. More laughter erupted from the alien sections. Tejo heard words like primitive, backward, and hopeless being thrown around in dozens of different languages. Zethmore continued the humiliation. We have seen reports of your space fleet. 37 ships. Our children play with toys larger than your greatest battleship. The Valthari 6th Home Guard has more firepower than your entire military. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing images of Earth's space vessels next to alien warships. The human ships looked tiny and fragile compared to the massive alien dreadnoughts that stretched for kilometers. The contrast was so great that even Tejo felt a moment of doubt. Look at this, laughed a blob-like creature from the far side of the chamber. They call these metal cans warships. I have seen cargo haulers with better armor. Bora could not stay quiet any longer. Our ships may be smaller, but they have protected our colonies from raiders and pirates. Human crews have fought bravely to defend innocent people across dozens of systems. This brought even more laughter. Pirates? Wheezed the energy being known as a Nexari representative. You mean the small gangs of outcasts that we ignore because they are too weak to bother with? Those are the great enemies you have defeated? Wu Jin stepped forward. Our engineering might surprise you. Human ships are built to last and fight efficiently. We do not waste resources on unnecessary size. Efficiency. The word came from a mechanical-looking alien with glowing red eyes. Your power systems produce barely enough energy to light our bathroom facilities. Your computers are so slow they would be museum pieces in our most backward colonies. The mockery went on for what felt like hours. Every aspect of human civilization was examined and found wanting. Their art was called crude, their music was described as noise, and their literature was dismissed as the scribblings of children. Zethmore finally called for order. We have heard enough. The Galactic Council will now vote on Earth's application for membership in our alliance. The vote was swift and unanimous. Every species rejected humanity's request. Not a single voice spoke in their favor. The Council has decided, announced Zethmore with obvious satisfaction. Humanity is not ready for membership in the Galactic Alliance. Perhaps in 1,000 years, when you have evolved beyond your current barbaric state, you may apply again. Until then, you will remain in your small corner of space playing with your toy ships. Tejo bowed politely. We thank the Council for their time and consideration. We will remember this day. As the humans began to leave, they heard the aliens still chuckling among themselves. Comments followed them out of the chamber. Did you see how seriously they took themselves? Imagine thinking those rust buckets could protect anyone. Their captain looked ready to cry when we showed him real warships. Bora walked beside Tejo as they headed toward their small shuttle. Her face was red with anger and her jaw was tight. Sir, how can you stay so calm? They treated us like we were nothing. Tejo's voice was quiet but steady. Because, Commander, they have no idea what they just did. They could have had humanity as a friend and ally. Instead, they chose to make us remember this humiliation forever. Wu Jin looked confused. But sir, they were right about our fleet size. We really do only have 37 ships. A small smile appeared on Tejo's face for the first time since entering the council chamber. That they know about, engineer. That they know about. As their shuttle lifted off from the crystal planet, a priority message appeared on Bora's communications console. The message was short but urgent. Massive energy signatures had been detected at the edge of known space. Something big was coming, and it was not friendly. The council that had just laughed at humanity was about to face a threat that would test everything they thought they knew about power and civilization. The emergency alarms on Valthera Prime began screaming 3 hours after the human delegation left. High Arbiter Zethmore rushed from his private chambers to the council's command center, his crystal body reflecting the red warning lights that flashed throughout the building. Report, he demanded as he entered the room filled with panicking aliens. Commander Dalsu of the Velthari Defense Fleet stood before a massive holographic display. His usually calm crystal features showed cracks of stress. Sir, we are receiving distress calls from the Outer Rim colonies. Something is attacking our settlements. The display showed a map of the galaxy with red dots marking the locations of the attacks. As they watched, more red dots appeared, spreading inward like a disease. What kind of ships are attacking us? Asked Zethmore. Dalsu's voice shook slightly. That is the problem, sir. These are not ships as we understand them. They appear to be grown rather than built. Living vessels that adapt and change during battle. The display changed to show grainy images captured by fleeing colonists. The attacking ships looked like enormous sea creatures from some nightmare ocean. Their hulls were dark and wet-looking, covered in what appeared to be scales or armor plates. Long tentacles reached out from the sides, and the front ends opened like giant mouths filled with sharp teeth. Impossible, whispered a Silrathi intelligence officer. No species has ever developed organic space travel to this degree. The Korthvar Dominion has, said a new voice from the chamber entrance. Everyone turned to see Admiral Kianwu of the Nexari Collective floating into the room. His energy form flickered with agitation. We received their final transmission from the edge of the galaxy 6 months ago. We thought they were destroyed by some unknown force. Zethmore felt his crystal heart grow cold. You mean these creatures defeated the Korthvar? No, replied Kianwu grimly. These creatures are the Korthvar. They have returned, and they are nothing like the species we once knew. The holographic display changed again to show a recording from a deep space monitoring station. The image was dark except for the stars, but slowly, shapes moved across the screen. Hundreds of bioships, each one larger than the biggest Velthari crystal ship, glided through space like a school of deadly fish. "How many ships do they have?" asked Dalsu. "Our scouts counted over 3,000 vessels before they stopped reporting back," answered Qianwu. "And more keep coming from the Galactic Rim." Panic filled the command center as the full size of the threat became clear. The largest fleet any council species had ever assembled contained maybe 50 major warships. 3,000 enemy vessels was beyond their worst nightmares. "We must call an emergency session of the full council," declared Zethmore. "All species must contribute their fleets immediately." Within 6 hours, representatives from all 12 council species had gathered in the great chamber. The mood was very different from the morning's mocking laughter. Now fear filled the air like smoke. "The situation is clear," announced Zethmore to the assembled aliens. "The Korthver have returned with a massive invasion fleet. They have already destroyed 17 of our colonies and show no signs of slowing down." A Krexthari admiral clicked his mandibles nervously. "Our intelligence suggests they are moving toward the core worlds. If they continue at their current speed, they will reach our home systems within 10 days. Then we stop them," growled a furry, beast-like alien from the Ursine Confederacy. "We combine all our fleets and destroy these organic monstrosities." Dalsu stood up and activated the tactical display. "I have calculated our combined fleet strength. The Velthari can contribute 93 ships. The Nexari Collective can provide 78 energy lance destroyers. The Silarathi offer 56 stealth frigates." The numbers continued as each species reported their contributions. Krexthari swarm fighters, Ursine heavy cruisers, mechanical dreadnoughts from the Synthetic Union, and dozens of smaller vessels from the minor species. "Our total combined fleet numbers 847 ships," announced Dalsu with growing confidence. "This is the largest space fleet ever assembled in galactic history. Surely no force can stand against such numbers." Cheers erupted throughout the chamber. The fear began to fade as the aliens remembered their technological superiority. 800 ships with the most advanced weapons in the galaxy would crush these organic primitives. In their corner seats, the 3 human delegates sat quietly and watched the celebration. Teho noticed that Bo-Ra was operating her quantum communicator under the table, sending brief coded messages. A Velthari counselor noticed the human activity. "What are you doing, human? Planning your evacuation?" Bo-Ra looked up calmly. "Just coordinating with our ships for evacuation support, as you suggested." The aliens nodded approvingly. At least the humans were being sensible about their limitations. The combined fleet assembled at the Helix Nebula, a strategic position that would force the Korthvar to fight in open space. Admiral Qianwu took overall command from his flagship, the energy vessel Starlight's Edge. Dalsu commanded the Velthari crystal ships, while other species contributed their best commanders. The bioships arrived exactly when predicted. They moved through space like a dark tide, their organic hulls pulsing with alien life. At the front of the formation swam enormous creatures that looked like space whales, their mouths large enough to swallow frigate-sized ships whole. "All ships, engage at maximum range," ordered Qianwu. "Use your longest-range weapons. Do not let those things get close." The battle began with a spectacular light show. Energy beams from the Nexari ships cut through space like bright swords. Crystal projectiles from Velthari vessels sparkled like falling stars. The combined firepower of 800 ships focused on the leading bioships. Direct hits struck the organic vessels, burning holes in their dark hulls. Several smaller ships exploded in bursts of green flame. For a moment it seemed the Alliance would achieve easy victory. Then the bioships began to change. The holes in their hulls closed over like healing wounds. Their outer surfaces rippled and shifted, growing new types of armor that reflected the energy beams back at their attackers. Scales appeared where crystal shots had struck, deflecting future projectiles harmlessly into space. "Impossible," shouted Dalsu from his command ship. "They are adapting to our weapons in real time." Qianwu watched in horror as his energy lances became completely useless. The bioships had grown mirror-like patches that sent the energy beams spinning off in random directions. All ships switched to kinetic weapons, used mass drivers and railguns. The Alliance ships fired solid projectiles at tremendous speeds. These punched through the bioship hulls and caused real damage. But again, the organic vessels adapted. Their hulls became thicker and softer, absorbing the kinetic energy like sponges soaking up water. "They are learning from every shot we fire," reported a panicked Krexthari pilot. My missiles are completely ineffective now. The bioships continued their advance, no longer taking any significant damage from the most powerful fleet in galactic history. Worse, they began firing back with weapons the Alliance had never seen before. Streams of acid shot out from the organic ships, dissolving Alliance vessels like sugar in water. Biomissiles that looked like giant insects attached themselves to ship hulls and began eating through the metal. Tentacle-like energy beams wrapped around frigates and crushed them like tin cans. "Retreat," ordered Qian Wu as his own ship's shields failed under acid attack. "All ships fall back to defensive positions." But there were no defensive positions. The bioships moved faster than expected, their organic nature allowing them to change direction instantly, without the acceleration limits of mechanical vessels. They surrounded and destroyed fleeing ships with terrifying efficiency. In 6 hours, the greatest fleet in galactic history was reduced to scattered survivors running for their lives. 800 ships became less than 100, then less than 50 as the pursuit continued. Dalsu's flagship limped back toward Velthara Prime with its crystal hull cracked and bleeding light. His final transmission reached the council chamber just as the bioships appeared at the edge of the home system. They cannot be stopped with conventional weapons. They adapt too quickly. May the stars have mercy on us all. The Korthvar biofleet moved toward the core worlds like a dark wave, unstoppable and hungry. The council that had laughed at humanity's small fleet now faced extinction at the hands of an enemy that made their greatest weapons useless. In their quarters on Velthara Prime, Teho received a response to Bora's earlier message. The reply was simple, acknowledged. Leviathan Protocol authorized. Show them what humanity builds when we are not playing games. Far beyond the chaos of the Korthvar invasion and the cold darkness between star systems, something ancient stirred to life. The quantum signal that Bora had transmitted from the council. Chambers traveled faster than light through. Hidden relay stations scattered across the galaxy's empty regions. Admiral Jin-A sat in her command chair aboard the space station Silent Dawn, watching the coded message appear on her personal screen. The station hung motionless in the shadow of a dead star, its hull painted black to absorb light and hide from scanning sensors. For 30 years, Jin-A had waited for this moment. "Confirmation received," she said to her communications officer. "Leviathan Protocol is now active. Send activation codes to all hidden facilities." The bridge of the Silent Dawn was smaller than most alien warships' bathrooms, but it controlled the most important secret in human space. Jin-A had gray hair and wrinkles around her eyes from decades of careful planning and patient waiting. She had been a young captain when humanity first made contact with alien species, and she had immediately understood what kind of galaxy they lived in. "Admiral," reported Commander Hyun-woo from his station. "All 37 facilities are responding. Construction teams are beginning final assembly procedures." Ginny nodded slowly. To the rest of the galaxy, humanity possessed only 37 ships, a pathetic fleet barely worth mentioning. What they did not know was that those 37 ships were just the visible tip of a much larger iceberg. Hidden in asteroid fields, ancient nebulae, and the gravity shadows of brown dwarf stars, humanity had been building something the galaxy had never seen. "Status report on the Yamato's Fury," ordered Ginny. "Final hull sections are moving to the assembly point now," replied Hyun-woo. "Construction ship Forge of Stars reports all major components are ready for joining. Captain So-young is standing by with the command crew." Light years away from the Silent Dawn, massive shapes moved through space like silent mountains. Each component was the size of a city, built in separate locations and disguised as mining stations or research facilities. The aliens had detected the installations over the years, but their scans showed only boring human industrial activity. None of them bothered to look deeper. Captain So-young stood on the bridge of the incomplete Dreadnought, watching through armored windows as the final pieces came together. Her ship was unlike anything that had ever been built. Where alien vessels relied on size and raw power, the Yamato's Fury incorporated technologies that the galaxy's greatest scientists had never imagined. "Engineering. Report," she called to her chief engineer. "Quantum. Reactors are stable and ready for full power," answered Engineer Yuri from her station. "Space-time manipulation systems are calibrated. Gravitational lances are loaded and targeted. All weapon systems show green across the board." The ship's design was purely human. No borrowed alien technology, no copied systems from other species. Humanity had taken a different path in their technological development, focusing on understanding the fundamental forces of the universe rather than just building bigger and stronger conventional weapons. Construction crews worked frantically to complete the assembly. Thousands of humans who had spent their entire careers preparing for this moment moved with practiced efficiency. They knew that the galaxy's survival might depend on their work. Hull, Section 7 is locked in place, reported the Forge of Stars. Beginning final systems. Integration now. The Yamato's Fury stretched 12 kilometers from bow to stern when fully assembled. Its hull was made from metamaterials that could shift between solid and energy states, making it nearly impossible to damage with conventional weapons. The ship's power core contained controlled miniature black holes that provided nearly unlimited energy. Most importantly, the Dreadnought carried weapons that attacked the basic structure of reality itself. While aliens built energy beams and kinetic projectiles, humans had learned to weaponize gravity, time, and space. Back on Valthera Prime, the situation grew more desperate by the hour. The Korthvar bioships had reached the outer defense stations and were dissolving them with acid weapons. Refugee ships fled toward the core worlds, carrying billions of terrified aliens. High Arbiter Zethmore stood in his crystal tower, watching the lights of fleeing ships streak across the night sky. His crystalline features reflected the red glow of burning space stations in orbit around his planet. "How long until they reach us?" he asked Dalsu. 6 hours, maybe less," replied the military commander. His voice sounded hollow and defeated. "Our remaining ships cannot even slow them down. The bio-vessels adapt to every weapon we fire at them." In their assigned quarters, the human delegation remained strangely calm. Tejo sat reading reports on his personal tablet, while Bora monitored communications. Wujin was actually sleeping peacefully in his bed. "Should we not be evacuating like everyone else?" asked a Velthari aide who had come to check on them. "Our transport will arrive soon," replied Tejo without looking up from his reading. "We are in no hurry." The alien found this response very strange. Every other species was fleeing in panic, but the humans acted like they were waiting for a routine pickup. The aide decided that humans were simply too primitive to understand the danger they faced. At the hidden assembly point, the final connections were being made. Engineer Yuri watched her displays as power flowed through the Yamato's Fury for the first time. The quantum reactors hummed with barely contained energy, creating gravitational distortions that rippled through space. "All systems are online and stable," she reported to Captain So-Young. "The ship is ready for combat operations." So-Young activated the internal communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. We have waited 30 years for this moment. Today, humanity shows the galaxy what we are truly capable of. Today we prove that underestimating us was the biggest mistake these aliens ever made." The crew of the Yamato's Fury consisted of the best officers humanity had ever produced. They had trained in secret facilities and studied technologies that pushed the boundaries of known science. Each person on board understood that they carried the hopes and fury of their entire species. "Admiral, Jinne is transmitting final orders," reported the communications. Officer Admiral Jinne's image appeared on the main screen of the bridge. Her face was stern but proud. "Captain So-Young, you are authorized to engage the enemy with all necessary force. Show the galaxy what happens when they laugh at humanity. Show them what we build when we stop playing nice." "Understood, Admiral," replied So-Young. The Yamato's Fury is moving to intercept the enemy fleet. The massive Dreadnought's quantum drive activated for the first time, creating a tear in space-time itself, unlike the conventional faster-than-light drives used by alien species. The quantum drive allowed instantaneous travel across any distance. One moment the ship was hidden in the shadow of a dead star. The next it was folding space to appear wherever its captain desired. At Sanctuary Station, the galaxy's diplomatic heart, the final evacuation ships were preparing to depart. The bioships had surrounded the massive space station and were positioning themselves for the killing blow. Acid streams had already begun eating through the outer shields. The Korthvar Hive Commander, a creature that was part machine and part organic horror, prepared to claim its greatest prize. The destruction of Sanctuary Station would break the spirit of the remaining alien species and make their final conquest much easier. Then something impossible happened. Space itself seemed to tear open near the station. Energy readings spiked beyond the measurement capabilities of any sensor, and a massive gravity well appeared where nothing had existed moments before. The Yamato's fury emerged from the quantum fold like a rising mountain of metal and energy. Its appearance defied the understanding of every species present. A vessel that should not exist, built by beings they had dismissed as primitive only hours earlier. Emergency broadcasts flooded all communication frequencies as sensors struggled to process the Dreadnought's impossible energy signature. The ship was larger than anything the Korthvar had ever encountered, and it radiated power that made their biovessels seem like insects by comparison. The Hive commander experienced something it had never felt before in its long existence. For the first time since its transformation into a biomechanical hybrid, it felt fear. This human ship was not like the weak vessels they had been destroying. This was something far more dangerous. Commander Taemin activated the ship's external communications array. His transmission reached every vessel in the system, carried on frequencies that penetrated even the bioship's organic shielding. "This is Captain Taemin of the Terran Defense Force vessel Yamato's Fury. You wanted to see what humanity could build when we stopped holding back. You wanted to know what our primitive technology was capable of. Be very careful what you wish for." The Korthvar biofleet hesitated for the first time since beginning their invasion. The Hive commander studied the readings from this impossible human ship and tried to understand what it was facing. Every instinct told it to retreat, but pride and curiosity held it in place. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their weapons. It was their ability to plan, to wait, and to remember every insult until the time came for payback. The Korthavar Hive commander stared at the impossible human ship through sensors that had never registered anything like it. The Yamato's fury hung in space like a sleeping giant, its dark hull absorbing light and radiating power signatures that broke every known law of physics. Analysis, the Hive commander demanded from its bioorganic bridge crew. The ship's living. Computers pulsed with confused energy. "Unknown, Commander. The vessel's composition shifts between matter and energy states. Our sensors detect gravitational fields that should not be possible. Power readings exceed our measurement capabilities." The Hive commander's mechanical components clicked with agitation, while its organic parts twitched with uncertainty. In 3,000 years of existence, it had never encountered technology it could not understand or adapt to defeat. "Size comparison?" it asked. "The human vessel is 12 kilometers in length. Our largest bioship is 8 kilometers. Mass readings suggest the human ship is significantly denser than our vessels." For the first time since the invasion began, the Hive commander felt something approaching doubt. But it had destroyed entire civilizations with bioships smaller than this single human vessel. Numbers and adaptability had always been enough. "Begin standard adaptation sequence," it ordered. "Prepare biovessels for genetic modification based on observed human technology. All ships engage the single enemy vessel." On Sanctuary Station, High Arbiter Zethmar watched through the command center's crystal windows as the biofleet moved toward the human dreadnought. Despite everything he had witnessed, part of him still could not believe that one ship could face an entire invasion fleet. 3,000 bioships against one human vessel, whispered Dalsu beside him. Even with their advanced technology, the odds are impossible. The human delegates had joined them in the command center, still showing no signs of panic or fear. Taeho stood calmly beside the tactical display, watching the Korthvar formations close on his people's ship. "Captain," Bora said quietly to Taeho, "should we warn them what they are about to face?" Taeho's expression was stone cold. "They had their chance for warnings when we came in peace. They chose mockery instead. Let them learn the hard way." The first bioships reached weapons range of the Yamato's Fury. They fired streams of acid and launched biomissiles that had destroyed hundreds of alien vessels. The organic weapons struck the human ship's hull and simply disappeared, absorbed into the metamaterial surface without leaving a mark. Captain So Young stood on her bridge, watching the enemy attacks with calm interest. "Weapons report," she called to her tactical officer. "All enemy fire is being absorbed by the hull's adaptive matrix," reported Commander Minho. "Their weapons cannot penetrate our metamaterial armor. The ship is taking 0 damage. Good, begin counterattack sequence. Target their command vessels first." The Yamato's Fury had been built with weapons that the galaxy had never imagined. While other species focused on energy beams and explosive projectiles, humanity had learned to weaponize the fundamental forces of the universe itself. "Gravitational lance array is ready," announced Minho, targeting the largest bioship. The human ship's main weapon fired with no visible beam or projectile. Instead, space itself bent around the target bioship. Gravitational forces that normally held planets in orbit were focused into a surgical strike that tore the organic vessel apart at the molecular level. The 8-kilometer bioship simply came apart like a puzzle being taken to pieces. Its organic hull separated along quantum boundaries while its living systems died instantly. In seconds, the largest vessel in the Korthvar fleet became a cloud of harmless debris. On Sanctuary Station, every alien in the command center stared in shocked silence. The display showed the massive bioship's destruction, but their sensors could not explain how it had happened. "What kind of weapon was that?" asked Zethmore in a voice barely above a whisper. Wujin answered with quiet pride. "A gravitational lance. It manipulates space-time to create localized gravity fields strong enough to tear matter apart. The target is destroyed by the same forces that hold galaxies together." The Korthvar fleet reacted with confusion and rage. The bioships had never encountered a weapon they could not adapt to defend against. How could they evolve protection against gravity itself? "Continue adaptation sequence," ordered the Hive commander. But doubt crept into its voice. "Modify hull density to resist gravitational stress." The bioships began changing, their organic hulls becoming denser and more compact. But the Yamato's Fury had many types of weapons. "Quantum disruptor array online," reported Minho, targeting enemy formation delta. This time, the human weapon attacked the quantum structure of matter itself. A group of bioships simply ceased to exist, erased from reality at the subatomic level. They did not explode or break apart. They were just gone, leaving empty space where vessels had been seconds before. The Hive commander felt panic rise in both its organic and mechanical components. Impossible. Matter cannot simply be destroyed. On the human ship, Engineer Yuri monitored the quantum disruptor systems with calm efficiency. "Quantum coherence maintained," she reported. "The disruptor is functioning perfectly. Enemy vessels are being removed from local spacetime." Captain So Young nodded approvingly. "Continue firing. Target the ships attempting to flank us." The battle became a demonstration of impossible technology. The Korthvar bioships fired everything they had at the human dreadnought. Acid streams, biomissiles, energy weapons they had stolen from conquered species, even ramming attacks by suicide vessels. Nothing worked. The Yamato's Fury's metamaterial hull absorbed or deflected every attack, while its reality-bending weapon systematically destroyed the enemy fleet. "Time manipulation field ready," announced Minho, targeting the eastern formation. A bubble of altered time-space surrounded a group of bioships. From the outside, observers saw the enemy vessels slow to a crawl, their movements becoming so sluggish they appeared frozen. Inside the field, time passed normally for the bioships, but the outside universe raced past them at impossible speed. By the time the field collapsed, the rest of the battle would be over and they would be stranded alone in space. The Hive commander watched its fleet being methodically destroyed by weapons it could not understand or counter. 3,000 bioships that had conquered half the galaxy were being eliminated by a single human vessel. "Retreat," it finally ordered. "All ships withdraw to safe distance." But retreat was not possible. Engineer Yuri had activated the Yamato's Fury's most subtle weapon, a localized gravity well that prevented faster-than-light travel. The bioships found themselves trapped in normal space, forced to face an enemy they could not escape or defeat. "Gravity anchor is stable," reported Yuri. "No enemy vessel can enter hyperspace or use quantum drives. They are locked in position." The trapped Korthvar fleet tried everything in desperation. They combined their remaining ships into larger formations, hoping greater numbers would help. They attempted to ram the human ship with their heaviest vessels. They even tried to overload their own bioreactors to create massive explosions. Nothing worked. The Yamato's Fury moved through the enemy fleet like a force of nature, its impossible weapons cutting through bioships like a sword through paper. Captain So Young gave precise orders that resulted in surgical destruction, each shot calculated for maximum effect and minimum waste. "Plasma compression cannon ready," called. "Minho, fire." A sphere of contained starfire erupted from the human ship. expanding to engulf dozens of biovessels at once. The plasma was hotter than the core of a sun, fed by energy from the ship's black hole reactors. Bioships caught in the expanding sphere were instantly vaporized, their organic hulls offering no protection against temperatures that could melt planetary crust. On Sanctuary Station, the aliens watched their greatest nightmare become reality. The species they had mocked as primitive was demonstrating technology that made their own achievements look like stone tools. "How is this possible?" asked Dalsu, his crystal voice cracking with stress. "How could humans develop such weapons in secret?" Tejo finally answered, his voice carrying the weight of 30 years of careful planning. "Because while you were laughing at our small fleet and calling us primitive, we were studying the universe itself. We learned to weaponize gravity, time, space, and quantum mechanics. We built ships that exist partially outside normal reality." Bora stepped forward, her face hard with controlled anger. "You judged us by the size of our ships instead of understanding what they represented. Our 37 visible vessels were not our entire fleet. They were our diplomatic escorts. What you are seeing now is what humanity builds when we stop trying to be friendly." The battle continued for 37 minutes. In that time, the entire Korthvar invasion fleet was systematically destroyed. 3,000 bioships that had conquered dozens of star systems were reduced to glowing debris by a single human vessel. When the last enemy ship was eliminated, the Yamato's fury hung alone in space, surrounded by the wreckage of the most powerful fleet the galaxy had ever seen. Its hull showed no damage, its weapons were still fully charged, and its crew was ready for more combat. Captain So Young opened communications with Sanctuary Station. The silence in Sanctuary Station's command center stretched like a held breath. Every alien present stared at the tactical display showing the debris field that had once been the most powerful invasion fleet in galactic history. 3,000 bioships reduced to glowing particles by a single human vessel in 37 minutes. High Arbiter. Zethmore's crystal form flickered with stress fractures as the reality of what he had witnessed sank in. The species his council had mocked as barely evolved primates had just demonstrated technology that made every other civilization look primitive. "Your ship," he whispered to Tejo, his voice carrying harmonics of fear and awe. "How many more vessels like that do you possess?" Tejo's expression remained neutral, but Bora answered with a cold smile. "That information is classified, but I will say this. The Yamato's fury is not unique." Through the command center's crystal windows, they could see the massive human dreadnought hanging motionless in space. Its dark hull seemed to absorb the light from nearby stars, making it appear like a hole cut out of reality itself. Even at rest, the ship radiated power that made their most sensitive instruments register impossible energy readings. Captain So Young's voice echoed through the station's communication system as she addressed her crew. "All stations prepare for quantum jump to Korthvar space. We have an appointment to keep with the source of this invasion." Commander Dalsu looked at his tactical displays with growing alarm. "Wait, you cannot mean to attack their home territory alone. Even with your advanced technology, the Korthvar homeworlds are defended by thousands more bioships." Wu Jin stepped forward, his engineering uniform bearing new insignia that none of the aliens recognized. "Actually, the Yamato's fury will not be going alone. We have been tracking Korthvar movements for months. Our response was planned long before their first ship crossed into council space." As if summoned by his words, space began to ripple and fold in dozens of locations around Sanctuary Station. The aliens watched in growing horror as more human ships materialized from quantum jumps. These vessels were smaller than the massive dreadnought, but each one radiated the same impossible energy signatures. "Impossible," breathed a Silrathi intelligence officer. "Our sensors detected no approaching fleets." "That is because our ships travel through folded spacetime," explained Bora with professional pride. "We do not move through normal space like your vessels do. We step outside reality and appear wherever we choose." 12 human ships now surrounded Sanctuary Station. Each one was unique in design, built for specific purposes that the aliens could only guess at. One vessel appeared to be made of pure energy contained in geometric patterns. Another looked like a collection of metallic spheres connected by beams of solid light. A third ship seemed to phase in and out of visible reality, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Admiral Jinay's image appeared on the station's main communication screen. Her weathered face showed the calm determination of someone who had spent decades preparing for this moment. "Captain So Young, You are authorized to proceed with Operation Reckoning. Show the Korthvar what happens when they threaten human-protected space. Understood, Admiral, replied So Young from her bridge. All ships form up for assault formation. We are going to end this war before it can spread further. The human fleet arranged itself with mathematical precision. The Yamato's Fury took the center position, while the other vessels formed a complex pattern around it. Energy flowed between the ships, creating a network that amplified their already impossible capabilities. Quantum navigation systems locked onto Korthvar Prime, reported the navigation officer aboard the flagship. All ships report ready for immediate transfer. High Arbiter Zethmore found his voice, though it cracked with stress. You mean to attack their entire civilization? Surely there must be another way. Perhaps negotiation. Teho turned to face the crystal being, his eyes hard as steel. Did the Korthvar offer negotiation when they dissolved your colonies with acid? Did they seek peaceful solutions when they adapted their weapons to slaughter fleeing refugees? He stepped closer to the alien leader, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper. You taught us today that this galaxy respects only strength. You laughed at our offers of friendship and alliance. So now you will see what humanity offers to those who threaten the innocent. The human fleet began to fade from normal space as their quantum drives activated. One by one, the impossible ships stepped outside reality and disappeared, leaving only empty space where they had been. Transit complete, announced Captain So Young. All ships have successfully arrived in Korthvar space. The Korthvar home system contained 7 planets orbiting a red giant star. 3 of the worlds were covered in biocities where trillions of the hybrid creatures lived and worked. Massive space stations grew like organic reefs around the planets, serving as shipyards and defense platforms. The system's outer reaches contained a defensive fleet of over 5,000 bioships, the largest concentration of military power in the known galaxy. The human fleet materialized in the system's heart, between the inhabited planets and their defending armadas. The appearance of 13 impossible vessels caused immediate panic among the Korthvar defenders. This is Captain So Young, of the Terran Defense Force. Her transmission reached every bioship and space station in the system. We have come to end your expansion permanently. Surrender now and your civilian populations will be spared. Continue resistance and your entire civilization will be erased. The Korthvar High Council's response was swift and predictable. Primitive mammals, your small fleet cannot threaten the might of our empire. All bioships, destroy these inferior creatures. Captain So Young sighed sadly. They always choose the hard way. All ships commence Operation Reckoning. Weapons free. What followed was not a battle but a demonstration of absolute technological superiority. The human ships moved through the Korthvar defense fleet like ghosts, phasing through solid matter when enemy weapons tried to target them. Their impossible weapons turned bioships into quantum particles, folded space to crush entire formations, and created localized black holes that devoured everything nearby. The Yamato's Fury approached the largest biostation, a massive structure that housed the Korthvar military command. Captain So Young opened a direct communication channel to the station's commanders. You have 30 seconds to evacuate all non-military personnel, she announced. Then this station will cease to exist. The biostation's organic defenses opened fire, launching every weapon they possessed at the approaching dreadnought. Acid streams, biomissiles, energy cannons, and even ramming attacks by suicide vessels struck the human ship's hull. All attacks were absorbed harmlessly by the metamaterial armor. Time expired, said So Young calmly. Fire quantum dissolution array. The massive biostation simply vanished. One moment it was a 10-kilometer structure bristling with weapons and containing millions of tons of organic matter. The next moment there was empty space, as if the station had never existed at all. The remaining Korthvar forces broke and fled, but the human ships followed them with relentless efficiency. Ships that tried to escape were caught in time distortion fields that slowed them to a crawl. Others found themselves trapped in gravity wells that prevented faster-than-light travel. No escape, announced Engineer Yuri as she monitored the battle from her station. All enemy vessels are contained within our interdiction field. None will carry word of this defeat to other Korthvar territories. The destruction of the home fleet took 3 hours. 5,000 bioships that had taken centuries to grow were eliminated without a single human casualty. The human vessels showed no damage, their energy reserves barely depleted by the one-sided combat. Captain So Young opened communications with the surviving Korthvar leadership. This is your final warning. Withdraw all forces from Council space immediately. Disband your invasion fleets and return to your own territory. Any Korthvar vessel found outside your original borders will be destroyed without negotiation. The Korthvar High Council, reduced to cowering survivors hiding in deep bunkers, agreed immediately to all human demands. The mighty empire that had terrorized the galaxy for months now begged for mercy from the species they had dismissed as inferior. Back at Sanctuary Station, the alien council members watched real-time transmissions of the human victory. The same species they had mocked that morning was systematically dismantling the greatest military threat the galaxy had ever known. "It is over," whispered Dalsu, as the last Korthvar bioship surrendered. "They have ended a war that should have taken years to fight." Admiral Jinneh's image appeared on the communication screen again. The Korthvar threat has been neutralized permanently. Their invasion fleets have been destroyed and their homeworlds have agreed to our terms. The core worlds are safe. High Arbiter Zethmore approached the human delegates with new humility. "Captain Tejo, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I formally apologize for our earlier behavior. We clearly misunderstood humanity's capabilities and intentions." Tejo studied the crystal being for a long moment before responding. "Your apology is noted, Arbiter. However, actions have consequences. The Council chose to humiliate humanity in front of the galaxy.